thought about, oh, we're already going.
Oh,
it's live, dude.
I'm going to go live there anyways. They won't let me go live on there? All right, fine. Hold on. I have to remove the LinkedIn one. Maybe we'll add Facebook in there. Let's try that.
This is a cool system, though. So it just ports over.
Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing? We're figuring out some technical difficulties, but I am live, and we're here with Brian Daly. Wave your hand.
What's
up? And Derek Harms with Compass.
What's up, guys? Man, you guys are making me look very bad.
Why is that?
I'm on here with two good-looking guys. Well, man, what?
I think we were joking. I think you're the best of all of us, so we'll take a back seat to you today, man.
Okay.
Maybe we can put up some.
That's why I have to read all these books, because I have to make up for my poor looks.
There's a lot of bro love on this thread right now.
It is bro time, that's for sure. Well, I wanted to thank you guys for coming on. I wanted to do this. I thought it'd be great, especially coming from the realtor and developer side, realtor and investor side of kind of what we do, each of us independently, and then kind of how we kind of collaborate and talk about deals, what's going on with the market with COVID, et cetera. And kind of the three things I kind of tasked you guys to talk about today was the first one being, how's COVID changing the way you're underwriting your flips and your deals out there when you're looking at stuff in the market now? So we can talk about that briefly. And then the other one would be, how is COVID affecting the apartment market, buildings, tenants, landlords, all of that. So now that we're midway through April, kind of how that's shaken out. And I can kind of attest to some of that with our rental apartment units and you guys as well. And then lastly, we're going to showcase a couple of your recent flips each of you guys have done. One success, one miserable failure. But show the before and after photos, because people love that. We basically have kind of a live HGTV Bravo before and after show right now. So, and we'll go from there. So let's go ahead and start off, I guess, as to, really how is it affecting the underwriting your flips and your deals right now? And we'll start with you, Brian, and then Derek, you can chime in right after that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so this is a ever-changing situation with how quickly things are going back and forth. But as of right now, I'm adding hold time, and I'm taking in and factoring in depreciation. I just released the newsletter today for Real Report, and basically in there, I'm expecting a 5% drop on our current prices over the next several months. So in my analysis on flips, basically to make the equation simple, I factor in a 1% a month depreciation. So when you're comping a property, you look at comps today, and then you're selling 5 months, 6 months from now. So I just factor in a month or 1% per month. I used to factor in about 120-day hold time on an average, term, and now I'm closer to 6 months. I added about 60, 70 days on my sale times. So in essence, roughly it's a 6%, 5 to 6% drop on my RVs. And then because it's still unknown, it still could go better or worse than expected. Don't know, right. But I'm increasing the margins that I'm looking for, because we're taking on more risk. So
that makes sense. You're anticipating perhaps up to 5-6% adjustment in pricing over the course of the next 5-6 months.
Yep.
Okay. Which I think is a fair statement. People think it's not going to hit real estate. Look, it's all relative to jobs, right? And we know that right now we're losing about 7 million jobs a week based on the numbers and the stats. We're at about 11% unemployment right now, about 17 million. We have about 155 million in the workforce today in the United States. So if we're running at 7 million a week, you can do the math. By the end of the month here in April, we could be close to about 20% on that unemployment if you're running at 7 million a week.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And if those jobs come back quickly, great. Then it's just a temporary thing, and then it gets back to closer to full employment. But if not, then now that lags on. If people don't have jobs, obviously they can't pay bills, and more importantly, they can't buy houses. So
yeah,
that trickle effect.
The observation that I've had is that the prices have run up, obviously, over the last 6 to 12 months and beyond. But last 6 to 12 months, it's been relatively a buyer frenzy. And I think emotions have gotten involved, and they always do in any kind of sale process. And buyers were frantic to find, when they found a house that they wanted, they just would bid it up. And that's, we as property holders and investors and whatnot saw the benefit of that. But it was inflated just simply by the emotional responses that people were going to with the lack of inventory. And now I think, that premium that we've seen in the pricing, it's a mini bubble. It's just a correction. We don't have that anymore. And
you think it's a correction reality?
Naturally, it's going to go back down. Eventually, we're going to find a norm or a new level, which obviously is going to be less than we're at today, and it's going to have to be supported by incomes, right?
Sure.
And I think the saving grace that we're going to have in San Diego from seeing two drastic drops is going to be the fact that we're going to have low interest rates. They're going to keep going lower, and then we don't have very much supply. I mean, we're way short on housing. So
I think another thing important, guys, to mention here is, what creates prices to go down? Well, it's typically price damage, right? So you go back to 2008 to 2010, we had a wave of foreclosures, which, right now when there's an REO or a short sale that an appraiser is going to use in his set of comparable sales, he can throw that one or two out when he's running his appraisal report. But if 70% of the market is REOs and short sales, well, guess what? Now that is the market. And so the appraiser has to be lowering the price. And when you see that terrible price damage from all of that type of activity, then that's when you start to see this big rise in, this big lowering in pricing. I don't think we're going to see that this time around. I mean, look, the government has issued moratoriums on foreclosures, put in forbearance programs, and this time around, most borrowers that are in their homes are pretty well qualified. Granted, you need a job to be able to support and pay your mortgage, but assuming that the economic engine turns on again here soon, I think this time around, the last thing the banks want to do is inherit a bunch of real estate. So unless we see this massive wave of defaults and foreclosures starting to hit the market, real estate is not the problem this time around. I think it'd be foolish to not factor in some depreciation into underwriting right now. I don't see how that wouldn't make sense right now. You, as an investor, being responsible as a steward of other people's money, I think you have to do that. But I don't know if the fundamentals are there for a massive price decline. And I'm no economist, but to me, I think you got to have a bunch of price damage. And are we going to have that? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head, and it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, if things start to begin slowly opening up next month, then that's going to kind of help people see some light at the end of the tunnel and kind of give some timelines to things for people to hold on, get back to work, and start making some income. So, next question: how is COVID affecting the apartment market, apartment buildings, landlords? I know you have a rental property, Brian. Derek, do you have any rental properties right now, or are you working just on the flip side?
I do, yes.
Are your tenants paying rent?
So actually, yes. And I'm going to pull this up here. You don't necessarily have to go to my screen if you don't want to, but I'm going to pull up some data that I literally just grabbed yesterday because I was presenting on the Norris Group's live events, COVID-19 town hall, as well as they're going to add that to their podcast. But it's very interesting. So I talked to multiple property managers within San Diego County, and those with less than 1,000 doors under management, between 93 to 99% collection rate for April. And
that's not right.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to touch on that in a second. And then those with more than 1,000 doors under management, the average was 87%. But for those that couldn't make their payments, they had payment plans set up, and they were confident that 12% of them would work with them on plans, which again would average back out to 99%. And so even the people who were down at 93% said the few that haven't paid, they're working out deals with. So, and in talking to all of the other presidents of the investor associations last night throughout the state of California. So this is from Northern California down here. The overwhelming sentiment was that property managers have had a lot of success collecting rent this month.
Yeah, which I would agree with. I mean, on our, with our properties right now in San Diego, all but one has paid. So that's pretty good. The stuff in Kansas City, I checked in with the property managers yesterday. I'm trying to get an update. And right now it's looking good. Most people have, but we actually got ahead of it. I mean, I felt this like kind of coming in, late February, early March, and sent an email out to the property management company. We kind of set some infrastructure in place with some rules, guidelines, and everything. And then by the end of, I think mid-March, we sent out a letter to all the tenants that actually gave them the option, if they were affected directly by COVID, to respond. So that way we could work with anybody on a case-by-case basis. And of course, everybody was worried, like, oh my gosh, are we just going to get an onslaught of everybody trying to take full advantage of the situation? But the opposite actually took place, because we had to provide proof, right? It wasn't like a full-blown, hey, anybody can do it. You got to provide proof of loss of income, unemployment, verification, stuff like that, to be able to fit into that qualification to get a deferment on the rent. So, but yeah, I would agree with you. I think for the most part, it's been good for April. April was
that's a good point. And yeah, being proactive is so important, I think. And on another level too, just being human, I think, is really important as well. So my property manager, she suggested after each successful payment of rent for each tenant, we send them a $25 gift card for groceries, a grocery gift card, as a thank you for making rent payment a priority. And we're thankful that you did that. And so immediately I was convicted to do that. I mean, it's $25. It's not a ton of money, but it's at least just a thank you. And I think in this case, especially the smaller property managers that have a little bit more personal contact with tenants may have a little bit more power and just a little bit more of a personal touch in a time like this. So I thought that was a really cool idea.
That's a really good idea. I like that.
And I think, again, I have less experience than the people you polled and less units than you guys, but just the fact that we're all human and we're all in this together, it's not like an us against them thing. At least we definitely can't make it that way. The fact that there is that kind of human connection going on, and more than just everybody just trying to protect themselves and get their bills paid. They're understanding that and going above and beyond. I just think that's going to go a long way. Not just now, collecting May rent, and at least it's all about open dialogue and communication between landlord and tenants. But you're going to have a tenant there that's going to be proud to be your tenant, right? They're not feeling as if they're less than you now because you're taking advantage of them or trying to put your foot on their throat. And I think that's going to go a long way for a long time. You're going to have long, dedicated tenants.
Yeah, I think how you treat people in this situation will find its way through. Let's see. We got one comment. Multi-unit buildings with no in-unit washer dryer. You should leave a roll of quarters for them. Beautiful, Stanley. I'm bringing you up on the screen.
I like that.
Nice.
Like that. So this is Stanley. She's live with us right now. She made this comment. I think that's super smart. Little things.
What's up, Stan?
You go a long way.
Hey, hope that inspection went well today, man.
There you go. So, we got to, it's fun to bring those up on.
So Brian and I actually have an apartment building in University Heights that is going to be actually going to lease up here in about a month and a half. And it's been very interesting talking to different people about lease up right now. So I talked to a developer yesterday who's got a new construction project that it's been finished. It's in lease up phase and it's in Bankers Hill. And he said that showings and lease up has essentially come to a standstill. So that is, granted, that's a little higher price point than where we're going to end up at. but still, it's not a good sign.
Yeah, and keep in mind, it's all relative to everybody. The stay-at-home order. I mean, yes, you can. We're still essentially, you can still go out, still do things, but it's definitely hindering folks right now. If they don't need to move in the middle of this or looking at things in the middle of it, they're not going to, and they're going to be, they're just going to wait. I mean, normally, and we have a house we're renting, one of our properties, and we have another one, 2 vacancies at the moment, and yeah, I mean, the showings are few and far between right now, and it is what it is. We just put it on last week. Normally, I'd have 15 applications by now.
Yep.
So it is what it is, and I understood going into that, and we'll just have to deal with it. But I think starting next month, if they start to slowly open this thing back up and be very tactful with it, I think that's going to open up as well. So we shall see.
What are your thoughts on all these Airbnbs now becoming long-term rentals and seeing our rental supply go up?
Look, it's competition. I mean, it is what it is. It's normal market competition. I mean, it makes sense if they can't short-term rent them, and we know that market's in deep crap, at least in the short term. So they got to make revenue, and if they got to put them on the market for long-term rental, it may depress depending on the number that come on, and it may depress that rental market. It's supply and demand, like anything. We're well aware of that. So only time will tell.
I'm going through that as we speak. One of my business partners and I, Kimberly, we have a small multi-family property in Kensington, and they're badass short-term rentals. I mean, they were crushing it, and she did a really good job getting them ready for Airbnb market and managing them, and they were crushing. And I mean, there's no other way to look at it. And then once this all happened, crickets. And I think almost everybody canceled over the last month and through April, through May even. And so our same property manager,
VRBO that have taken on money and stuff, are they just having to return it? Or are they benefiting you guys at all? What's going on with that?
So the answer is you get a portion of, at least the way I understand it, is you get a portion of any of the cancellation fees that you have set up in your terms and conditions. So if they cancel and you keep half of their deposit, then Airbnb is willing to give you like a 25% of that. So it's not much, but it's something.
Right.
That's the way I understand it. It could be wrong. The listeners out there may correct me, but that's the way I understand it.
I kind of off topic, but I just listened to this phenomenal interview today with Brian Chesky, the CEO of Airbnb. I was on a podcast, and it was, normally they'll hold on a podcast for a couple months before they plan, but this one was like a week old because they're trying to get content out quickly for business owners. Anyway, it was quite interesting to hear what they've been going through internally and what they've been doing in reaction to it and how their company is responding as a whole. I highly recommend people listen to this interview because it's fascinating. And I wouldn't call it a proponent, but I've been concerned about Airbnb in general going into this thing, and the company, because they've been spending god awful amount of money over especially last year. But man, after watching this or listening to this interview, I'm a believer. I mean, Brian Chesky, you get into crisis like this, and true business leaders come out, and that's kind of what defines a company, and they're going to be great through this. And a lot of really good hosts are going to be great because of that. I think a lot of speculative people are going to get hurt. But man, that was a great interview. I can't recommend it.
I'm going to go, I'll go back and take a look at that for sure. Casey put a comment up here. I'll let you guys chime in on it. How high do you think the San Diego unemployment rate will get to?
Man, if I knew that.
Right. Well, I can tell you this, Casey. It's tough to know specifically for San Diego, but we know we're losing 6 to 7 million a week right now. We'll see how temporary that is.
San Diego is huge on hospitality, tourism, right? I mean, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt bad. I wouldn't be surprised if we're in line with national averages, but the thing, I think we'll recover a little faster than most parts of the country. I think we have a stronger base of high employment or high wage employment, which will help a lot. But I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, just go down the street and look how many bars and restaurants you are. That's probably a quarter of our economy.
Yeah, no, that's for sure in the tourism industry and all of that. So we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of speculation and so forth. So we'll just have to wait and see how it all pans out.
San Diego was like a little over 3%, I think, to start the year, unemployment, which, I know is really low, but what's that in April? And after we get numbers, I mean, I don't know, 10%.
The problem is they're slow. They're, the national averages, the national numbers come out a couple weeks after they get them. I don't know how quickly I can never find data quick enough for San Diego. I mean, I try to study this stuff every week for the newsletter, and it's so hard to find. So if anybody has data that's relevant and actually timely, I would love to know where they're getting it from. That's a great question.
Great question. So then moving on to the last kind of subject, let's talk about you guys' flips. Don't be too excited. Let's go. Brian, we'll start with yours. I'm going to bring your screen up, and then you can kind of show some before and after photos of two recent flips. One that was maybe a huge success profitability-wise, one that was a miserable failure. Or
which one are we doing first? Which one are we doing first? Are we going to end with the bummer? Or
we'll end with the bummer. All right, go take it away.
All right. So are you pressing it? All right, there we go. Yeah. All right. So I this one is Oceanside, obviously, as you can see there. We sold it about a month and a half ago or so, 2 months ago. I just wanted to pick kind of a cookie cutter looking house, just because it's more typical of what we do. I have some showcase properties. I love showing those off, but at the same time, I'd rather show something more typical. So this is actually our second flip on this same street in Oceanside. Turning out, we love this street. We bought a third, and that one's coming on the market in 2 weeks or so. So I keep track of what my estimates were when we're buying it, and then what we actually do. So these are like the comparison. This is a pretty decent win for us. You can see there we went a little bit over budget, but we made those decisions strategically based on what we thought the buyers were going to want and need, and it paid off. So we ended up getting $35,000 over our sales price. We held it for less. We paid. We had a JV structure on this one with our money partner, which is why you don't see the $35,000 delta on our profit. And we paid a little bit more to our agent on this one for helping to put it together, and it was a big win. So it was a pretty ugly house to start with.
Wow, this is good, man.
Semi ugly when it was done, but it was.
People love watching that. I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
What a piece of crap. I love it. And then look what it turned into.
So this had the garage converted at some point with permits in the past. So it didn't have a garage, but we did have enough room over there to the left to build a covered carport, which helped a lot because no garage really sucks. It didn't have a driveway either, so poured a driveway and sod in the front yard. As much as people hate watering it, it makes it pop. So it really does help. Oh, all right. There we go. There's the inside. There's a couple on the inside. I kept it small because I didn't think we had a ton of time.
Yeah, no, it's perfect.
Just an example of the bathroom. My pre-renovation photos skills are terrible. So as you can see here, you don't really get a great scope of what that bathroom looked like. But there you go. There was the before and after the bathroom, and that kitchen was closed off. This is actually a week into reno, right after demo. So it was a closed wall that we opened up. I just didn't have a real good before photo, again, because I'm awful with photos.
All right.
There you go.
So this was your win. Good success. You can see the return on it and stuff. About 16% on that, on the revenue return on gross, right? It's gross profit.
Net. Net.
Awesome. So then let's talk about the failures, man.
All right. I'll preface this by saying we don't have a lot of these. Just
well, that's good news
for those prospective investors that are listening. We had one last year, and this is it. So I wanted to get with something recent.
Oh wait, look at Deborah says she knows that house.
Yeah.
Do you know Deborah?
Yeah. I like this house. I did. This is actually my backyard. It's in San Marcos. It's really disappointing to have to put this one on there. This was a hoarder house. This was the reason this is I figured I'd share this one because it was completely avoidable. It would have been a fine, normal, base hit type flip, but you'll see here in a sec. Anyway, yeah, that's what it looked like. Numbers going into it. There you go.
Actual, I love it. Actual, bad.
Yeah. So we didn't lose a ton of money, but we lost money. And losing any money is, it's like going to the championship game and getting your ass kicked. Like it's just the worst feeling. The house itself, it was an awesome house. You can't really tell from this photo there to the right, but there is a garage, and it was about 1,900 square feet. It was 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, it was a cute house. We added this deck. We built the deck. Thanks, Deb. Yes, losing money does stuff.
Good job, Deborah. Good job.
Yeah. We built this deck. We thought we had the front yard, figured out and curb appeal and whatnot. There's our before and afters. I'm terrible with this. So
nice bathroom.
Yeah, and man, the photo didn't do it justice. It really was a really nice house. The kitchen was huge and open. That was an 8-foot island. Waterfall countertops. Cool house. Unfortunately, buyers didn't like it as much as I liked it. But
damn it!
I went too far. So the reason this one turned out to be a failure is I don't know if it shows it on here. We had our ARV at 625. Should have just listed it at 625. Market was on fire at the time, and we had some reasons to believe that we could sell this thing at 670. So I think we listed it at 650 or 6. It was a range. Anyway, we were on a semi-busy street across the street from an elementary school. If we listed it at 625, we would have been fine. We sat for a couple of weeks. We went in and out of contract. Unfortunately, we had a new contractor when we took this job on, and don't use that contractor again. To say that. So yeah, but yeah, it was a bummer. It was a bummer.
Those are two good examples. Derek, I'm going to bring you on right now to kind of showcase your 2 recent flips, 1 success, 1 failure, before and afters on them, and kind of tell us why and give us some details on it for anybody out there watching right now.
Sweet. All right, let's start with the success. Can you guys see my screen?
We can now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Beautiful kitchen, right?
That looks a little rough.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this was a hoarder situation, and the poor woman lived there like this. She was a very sweet lady, though. We became friends, and I'm going to explain a little bit about that in a second and why actually treating people like humans is so important in this industry.
Yeah.
And it's one of our core values, is in our business is, humans first, right? We're all people first, and deals will come, money will come, but we got to treat people humanely first. But look at this place. It was quote unquote a disaster. So, look at the front. So it had been overgrown for years. This property was in Poway.
Okay.
This property was brought to me by a wholesaler, and the guy did a very good job on this and was under contract for much less than some other offers. But again, he was humane to this homeowner, and most hoarders are very ashamed and embarrassed about their situation. And he was very empathetic and brought me in slowly, and I was also very empathetic and polite, and this woman took a liking to that, and we ended up closing the deal. So before and after. So if you look at, here's what it looked like after. So just going through some of these photos. I mean, we did everything on this property, and we opened the floor plan. Essentially, it was cosmetic, but all the systems had to get replaced. So new roof, new HVAC, electrical wiring, etc., a new panel. So the house just needed some love. But you can see, I mean, it came out beautiful. It's in a desirable area, good school district, and I mean, the kitchen.
Because I know that the trend is with the bronze, right? The new cool bronze, and kind of blending that in with some of the other, you got some black in there along with some, nickel finishes and stuff. It's kind of cool to see the clashing of finishes, whereas in the past, I mean, bronze, as we all know, you'd be straight out of the 1980s, 90s going, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I agreed, man. I don't have the biggest design eye, admittedly, so I have to rely on others and their insight. And I've learned over the years how to do this, though. I right now matte black is really in, so we're seeing a lot of that as well. But I just follow the trends, keep my eyes open. I look at enough of other investors' deals to see what they're doing, and House and Pinterest and all that. You see some cool stuff, so it's not too hard to stay in front of it now. But you're right.
We get our inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the last photo we got of that. I mean, bathroom, more brass and black. Thought it came out pretty well.
Brass is
so let's look at the numbers on this thing. What's that?
In style, the brass and stuff, or is it more of a trend? Or I think
it's more of a trend, really. I don't think it's going to stand the test of time. At least, like is someone going to want that in their house in 7 years, or will matte black or chrome or stainless steel, pass the test of time? I think those metals will, but I mean, honestly, what do I know, man? I really don't. We'll see.
I don't think anybody in design knows either.
What's that?
I don't think anybody in design knows either. They just make this stuff up, and then they say it's cool, and then people start thinking it's cool. And
and then it's like, what's kind of progressive and what's no one really doing yet, and then now that's cool, and then it gets old, and I mean, whatever.
All right, let's get some numbers. So is this a failure or a success?
This is a success. So you can see here, we bought it at $420. I paid a $40,000 wholesale fee on this, which is a lot, but we don't care how much other people make as long as we hit our numbers, right? So, I'm more than happy to pay large wholesale fees or pay, whatever, as long as the numbers make sense. So, we ended up selling the property at $660. So my basis was $420 plus $40. So I was in at $460, at $83 in renovation costs. And so I'm not going to read out all the costs here, but just going down, you can see netted about $74,000, and that's about a 12.6 ROI, annualized at a little over 50%. So that's always just a great deal. And you get people who say you can't do deals like this without any of your own money, but I beg to differ. So
what was your turn time or hold time, I should say, start to finish, from when you executed, closed escrow, completed renovations?
It was really quick. This was less than 90 days.
Okay. Wow. That's good. That's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. This was one of those ones, like, everything goes right, and that's very rare. And which unless you have any questions on that, let me show the ones that don't go right.
Failure.
Yeah. So this was a property that we did back in 2000. When was this? This was 2018, I think. This was a couple years ago. But I chose this one. I've definitely lost money on multiple deals, and I think anyone that's in this game long enough will admit that you will lose on some. You win most, but you do lose on some. And sometimes you underwrote it incorrectly, or sometimes things just go wrong out of your control. And this one was underwritten well, just had a lot of things that went out of our control. And I could talk to you guys about this one for 20 minutes, but I'm not. I'm going to go through it kind of quickly, but just so you can kind of see the progression here. So this looked like your standard flip. And I mean, beautiful pool, right? This was a track home that I believe was built in like the late 90s. So one of those homes that you're like, all right, the systems are probably good. The foundation's probably fine. Maybe the roof now is nearing its end of its useful life. But I'm not going to have to get too wild with this. I'm not going to have,
that looks pretty
wiring and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah, that looks pretty decent.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what we thought. We underwrote the deal, and I'll show you that in a second. So this laundry closet downstairs ended up being one of the sources of all of our nightmares, and I'll explain why. In this photo, what you can kind of see is back on this side over here, this is a hillside, and this is a split level house, and the house had one level up top above grade, and then the second level was below grade. And what I've come to learn from this property, especially, is the damages of water and how to keep an eye open for it, no matter what, on every property moving forward. It's like the first lens I look through now when I'm looking at a deal.
Yep.
So,
smart.
Yeah, I mean,
about that.
Yeah, right. I'm sure. Exactly. It's like once you get burned by it, now you're completely aware. So here was how we underwrote it at first. 447 rehab 75. 609 original ARV, and then expected profit of 54,000. I had two other bids from licensed contractors. Here's my first mistake. At 90, it was a $90,000 job, and it's really what it cost. And I decided to, it was definitely my idea to hire this other contractor. He wasn't licensed, and he charged only for labor, and we supplied the materials. And there's just so many things wrong with that. But I did it, and we did it, and you get a phone call from Home Depot every morning from guys buying materials. You have to approve it, and it's just that's not how you want to be spending your time. But I'm glad that I learned the lesson, and it didn't get too painful, and we lost money. I'll show you how much, but just going down the line really quick, you can see how bad a job this guy was doing. That's a drywall patch, terrible. I don't even know what some of these things were. You got a bunch of bottles of empty booze in the garage.
Oh.
And so anyway, I had to fire him. And so anytime you fire a contractor, you're already now paddling upriver, playing from behind. But we got our other crew, we got the job done, and it came out pretty nice. So, photography, as you boys both know, can do a lot, but this house actually came out nice. It was a nice house.
I thought you were going to tell me, because the retaining wall, I get that part of it. I thought you were going to tell me the pool was leaking into the back of the house or something like that.
Oh, well, we're not done. We're not done, bro.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got multiple offers in the first week in escrow. Home inspection comes. Boom. You guys know what those are, moisture meters. So all kinds of moisture behind the walls downstairs. And we're like, what the hell? The floor down here is buckling. And we don't know where it's coming from. We have no idea. So we found a leak behind one of the vanities, and we thought that was it. And we just should have even looked more into it, but we didn't. And fixed the leak, replaced the drywall. The buyers ended up walking. And what you're looking at now is our second home inspection from the next buyer that opened escrow. From the leak we thought we fixed is now magically here again, and here are the moisture meters showing high moisture readings. Safe to say the buyer walked again. Now, I don't know what the hell to do. I show up the next day and I see this on the floor. The whole downstairs is flooded with water, and I have no idea what to make of it. We hired a pressure testing company to test all the lines to see what was going on. Hired two separate engineers, a moisture expert contractor who deposes at court cases. The engineer was making us dig all these holes, thinking some of this was coming in subterranean. We fixed all the irrigation. We jute netted the hillside, to protect from runoff, and nothing worked until I went on Google. I was desperate, and I typed in moisture intrusion specialist, and I found this guy's phone number. And this kind of salty, crusty, Dude shows up in like a 1983 Ford F-150. It's barely working. No joke. His shoes were on the wrong feet when he got out of the truck. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm going to give this, here goes $250. But the guy found the freaking leak, and he got out and he took his hose and he plugged it in and he started spraying the entire house with water, the roof, the windows, the doors, around the foundation, everything. Sure enough, here's a picture of the front door. Well, you can see where I'm circling is right over here by this flashing where the concrete kind of meets this, the bottom of the stucco here, the weave screed. There was this small hole that had developed over time. And when it rained, water would just pool up here and sink in. And this happened to be when we had one of those like gnarly San Diego rains.
Yep.
And water was cascading. I wish I had the video. It was cascading down this retaining wall into the laundry room, into the hole downstairs. And here's another photo of it. You can see water would pool up here, and because of the negative slope would end up right here in the house.
Yep. Makes sense.
So, yeah, dude, it sucks. So we at least we found it. We had replaced it with drywall, mold remediation, the whole deal. And so it took us a lot of extra expense. And here's where we ended up. So purchase price $447, and all in we were at $602. We ended up selling it for $630, which was 21 grand higher than what we had expected. So that really helped, but we ended up losing like 11K on that. So and 10 months of a deal that should have taken no more than 3 months, and learned a lot from that.
Oh my gosh, that was a good story, man. We
I think what Bill can.
We've all dealt with the water problem side of things before. I've dealt with it in the resale side of it with some clients' houses. I've dealt with it and stuff we built, and then it's kind of a trial and error where you're trying to find out where the leak's coming from, like you guys dealt with on multiple levels, and you just can't figure out where and how and what's going on. But man, you don't realize the value of proper waterproofing until you have to go through a deal like that. And then you'll never make the same mistake twice, which, I'm sure you look for. Like you say, you go to a house, the first thing you're probably looking at is, let's talk about outside drainage, right? Let's talk about, negative slope. Right. Let's talk about where's the waterproofing out, how's things draining, where the drain's at, all that stuff. Is everything sloping away from the house? Is it a retaining wall, not a retaining wall? All that stuff, you're like eyeballs are glued on stuff like that. So that's super interesting. That's a good story.
What we get for our money, right? Like Brian lost like 10 grand or something. I think we lost like 11, but that was probably the best education we ever could have bought with that money.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, hold on. We have a couple more comments I'll throw up here real quick. Derek, can you share the leak detector guy's numbers, please? Oh, hold on.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
Hey, he's gonna be able to afford new shoes and hopefully put them on the right feet now.
Hey, don't whoever that is that's getting this number. Why don't you just DM me? Actually, that's probably the best thing. I'll send it to you.
Deborah,
Deborah, I'll text you.
Totally off topic. Why is it a DM? Is that digital message versus PM, like private message?
Direct message.
Right. Direct.
Yeah. Oh my goodness! You learn from every day.
You're doing that right now.
This guy's putting on Facebook Lives and he doesn't know DM. I love it.
No, I do like that, but I'm like, why don't you just PM, private message me? What's this DM crap?
Maybe the DM is Instagram and the PM is. I don't know.
I have no idea.
Love it. It's great.
Deborah, I'm going to text you though.
Going forward with underwriting projects, how much are you factoring in for the drop in the values? Great question, Brian. And Brian actually touched on that a little bit earlier. He's doing 5 to 6% price drops, not necessarily price drops. He's just factoring that in the event it may happen because there may be some adjustments.
Derek, what are you doing?
Very similar. I don't know if I don't have an exact metric that like you have like 1% per month. I think that's a great place to start. I think that you have to have something, and it's almost in a case-by-case basis for me at least. And if I'm in a $525,000 neighborhood, in an area that has a ton of demand, I might look at that one a little differently than I will in, $1.1 million in affluent Rancho Bernardo.
Yeah, great point.
I'll probably look at those differently.
Great point. Yeah, mine is kind of across the board, but I'll do the same thing. I'll adjust based on, everything. And I said it today in the newsletters. Everything's super hyper local. We'll list a house and we'll get multiple offers still right now, and then other houses been on the market for a month, and it's beautiful, great price point, everything. Escondido, actually, it's
it's hit or miss. Even with my listings out there right now, we're getting the showing here or there. Otherwise, it's crickets. But yet, I'm seeing other people selling it. I'm going, what?
Yeah.
And my price points on some of the listings right now are like 500, 600, 700,000. I'm like, to be in the prime time, near the beach.
Neighborhood specific for sure.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add before we kind of end this broadcast for today? Positive vibes. What's your crystal ball? Anything like that before we go?
So I used to not do predictions, and then I started writing this newsletter. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to look stupid if I'm wrong, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So,
good newsletter, by the way, and everybody should check it out. You can give it out to people so people can check on it, and then they can DM you and you can send it to their email.
Yes, it's Real Report is the name of the newsletter. If you go to theSanDiegoHomebuyer.com and you click a little link up on the top that says Real Report, it'll be a link. But anyway, what I was going to say is shoot. Now what was I going to say? You were talking about crystal ball
predictions, crystal ball predictions.
Oh, yeah. Even The Economist. You've got really, really smart people on both sides of the fence right now saying it's going to be an L-shaped recession. Half of them are saying V-shaped. Some of them are saying W. Again, I would recommend everybody, if you're whatever industry you're in or however you're affected by this, is study it and look at trends and look at the fundamentals behind all this and come up with your own opinion. Try not to just listen to, my opinion, because I just told you I'm kind of, as I'm doing my best in order to inform the decisions I'm making in my company. But again, it's really tough right now. So what I would say is, what I think a lot of people are saying right now is we're going to get through it. There is going to be a new normal, and that's I go back to that interview with Brian Chesky because it aligns with some of just my core principles and how I'm trying to approach this. Is like right now it's a super weird time. You got to plan for it being really bad just in case. But you've also got to have in the back of your mind some hope and some faith in the future, and find out how you can help, serve, and transition your business to where you think it needs to be to survive the new trend, the new normal, whatever the new world is going to look like.
I would agree with that 100%. And your quote was great, by the way, in your last newsletter. Just being nimble. You can't control the markets. You can control how you react to it, but be nimble, serve, help others, because that will pay its dividends, and people will remember how you treat them, regardless of where you're at and the position you're at in your business or personally. So
I've actually got one thing, and internally here locally, all right. So we operate in San Diego. Our mission in our company, we flip houses, but our mission in our company is to bring life and value back to homes and communities. And like right now, we're a little bit more cautious on what we're buying. So we're not buying as aggressively as we used to. So we're like, okay, we're not really doing as much as we could be or want to be in regards to buying. But we do support some local charities. We don't really talk about it that much. But right now, there's a huge need in San Diego because a lot of people are hurting more than before. And Feeding San Diego is an organization that we support. So I'm glad you asked if there's anything else because I almost forgot.
I just donated to Feeding San Diego, which I 100% agree with you, especially when you see all the videos and TV stuff going on. even if it's a little bit, $5, $25, whatever you can do, it's irrelevant of the money. It's just the factor of doing it, right? And helping.
And the challenge, like Phoenix, San Diego, is one, you got a lot more people hurting, right? They can't pay their bills. They can't buy groceries. You got a lot of kids that aren't getting their school meals, which I know a lot of school districts they're trying to keep up the school meals, but it's a little bit harder for them to figure it out if they're not going to school every day. So we're trying to organize people to donate. Again, whatever you can. I've got a little, I don't know if you could show the screen.
Yeah.
But we got a little, and you don't have to use ours. I just want to point out Feeding San Diego is doing and what they're up against. They're trying to feed more people with less supply of food right now, because a lot of their food was donated to them by big grocery store chains and restaurants. And obviously grocery stores are challenged even just keeping their own shelves stocked, and restaurants are non-existent right now. So they need help. And so anyway, I was talking to my assistant. We don't really know what we're going to do yet, but we decided today, we're like, screw it. Our revenue is impacted just like a lot of people. I was telling Justin, I had to cut my projections by like 60%. It's painful. So I can't give as much as I would want to give, but maybe putting some attention to them, hopefully people can give. We donate a little bit of our money. We're going to, again, I don't care if you go to our page or not, but go donate to them or find someone else that needs money.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And Derek, on your end, quick projection, and then we'll sign off here before, obviously we went over, but that's okay because there's a lot of good talk that happened and great value out of it.
I agree. I think that we covered a lot of good stuff here. I'll finish with this. So in closing thoughts, I think at times like this is when people remember how you treat them in times of crisis and time of need. And, people will remember the way that you approach, whether it's your business or your family or your friendship. So I think right now is the time to really let your true colors show and treat people with respect and integrity. And then kind of on the business side, I don't claim to know it all. I mean, so far from it, it's ridiculous. So in the past like 4 weeks, I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I've been working 12-hour days, getting up at 5, and I'm like got my nose to the ground the entire day, and sometimes even until I go to sleep, even more than 12 hours because of what's going on. I'm doing everything I can to soak up as much information as I can and talk to so many more people, way more intelligent and experienced than me. I bought my first property in 2010, the very bottom of this last market. I do not know what the pain is like to go through a down market. And I know that you guys probably do. A lot of other people in our industry do. I've studied it to the nth degree. So I understand it, but I'm being aware of that. And so what am I doing? I'm networking and talking to as many people as I can that I consider intelligent and smarter than me and know what's going on. I'm getting a little more liquid. I think it's smart right now to just have a little more dry powder, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen. In our game of flipping houses, you have to be leveraged, but I think that having a little more liquidity right now is a smart thing. Cautious with doing deals. So just conservative underwriting and in markets, submarkets that will have desire and stand the test of time. I mean, you guys, in 2010, there was 32,000 homes that were sold. 2011, et cetera, similar numbers between 32 and 36,000 homes. 2019, I think there was 34,000. So homes are still going to sell here. So you just got to make sure you're buying the right stuff at the right price and have a margin of safety in there. So don't get too aggressive with the underwriting. Make sure there's enough of a margin. If not, just pass. There should be more deals to come. Adapt and overcome, right? Like all good real estate practitioners, whether you're an agent or an investor, you adapt with the market dynamics, and there's always a million ways to make $1 million in real estate. You just have to change with the times and change with what the market gives you. And I think the last thing I'll say is, in doing all the research I did yesterday for the Norse Group event, and in talking to numerous high-level real estate agents and investors doing a lot of volume, one common theme was pretty prevalent from them all, is that the cream is going to rise to the top. And it's times like this where the good really survive, and then the people who were not operating properly or not conducting business the right way kind of disappear. So, I think that there's always opportunity in crisis, and as long as you're honest and above board about it, like, let's do it.
Couldn't have said it better myself, my man. Well done. I appreciate you guys' time. This is pretty awesome. I think people are going to get a lot of good value out of it. And yeah, I've been doing the same thing, man. When you see the opportunities, I told myself, we bought some properties in the last downturn, but I said, we didn't buy enough. Like, I wish we would have had more capital, and I would have been better positioned and with more resources and connections and people. So I said, I will never let that happen again. And so the minute, I knew something was going to happen. We all knew, you're going to have a cycle adjustment, right? It's just, we just didn't know when or how it was going to happen. No, I don't think anybody in this wildest dream said, yeah, it's going to happen in the pandemic in the beginning of 2020.
Yeah.
Really? And it's going to shut down the entire world. Yeah, that would go over well with people. So, I went ahead and started reaching out to a lot of, hedge fund managers, capital partners, people that are connected to big money that, are going to be super liquid, to where if things do start to shake up, and we'll see how, the winners and losers, come through this, but, there's always opportunity in moments of suffering. And it's not like you're trying to take advantage of that, but you're trying to look for it and at the same time help people out while you're going through it. So, and that's it. So peace out. Thank you everybody for watching. This is Brian Daly, Derek Harms. I'm Justin Brennan, and hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, have a great day.
Thanks, Justin.